Good morning, and thank you very much for being here with us. The presentation I intend to make is focused on what the disruptions in this industry are and how do we deal with these disruptions. So the first thing is care. You know this. It's the mega trends, the automotive mega trends with the connectivity, with the autonomous drive, with the ride sharing, and with the electrified vehicles. Here, maybe just a few figures to tell you a little bit the uncertainty we have around that. If you take first the ride sharing, now we believe that the level 4 in 2030 will achieve between 10 and 30%. And nobody knows today what will be the real figure. When you take the electrified part, it's between BEVs, it's between 10 to 20%, maybe 25% for the most optimistic forecasts, with big differences between the US and Asia, where I think in China we will be close to the 25%. When you think about robotaxis and autonomous shuttle services, I think that this will come very quickly, and we will see some applications in the next 2 years. And I think that this is the beginning of the deployment of autonomous driving. When we now think about social trends, you have the millennials, with a clear focus on mobility rather than ownership. You have the population, which is aging, and to give you an idea, I took 2 figures, European figures, by the way. In 1960, 80% of the population survived 70 years of age. In 2030, 80% of the population should survive 85 years of age. So you see that it is accelerating. We have this in the Western world very much. And we need here to think about the specific use cases which are adapted to this growing population. The urbanization. In 1960, about 1/3 of the world population lived in urban areas. It was last year 53%. And this figure will continue to grow. And we believe that in 2030 we will be close to 60% of urban population. Asia, we had a difficult time in China at the second half of last year, for sure, but the leading growth region will stay Asia. Asia, and especially when you look at China, here again a few figures. The GDP of China last year was 114% of the US GDP. 50% of all AI-related startups were financed by China. 50% worldwide, which is considerable. 44% of the worldwide luxury consumption was Chinese. If we look at India, an interesting figure. In 1990, the population which had net revenues exceeding $10,000 per year was about 2 million. In 2014, this population grown by a significant multiple and achieved 50 million people. When you look at Asia globally, it's the 2/3 of the world population, and more than 50% of this population has less than 20 years. Another figure which is more related to automotive. The number of cars, of light vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants, about 100 in China today, while it is 750 in the US. So you see again here the potential we have. And when you look at the Silk Roads and how China is, acting in order to increase its partnerships on a global scale, it is an interesting sign of the multilateral world in which we will for sure live in the coming years. Now, when you look at the consumers, and what are the consumer priorities? Freedom, affordability, trust, safety and security, and time, individualized and effective time management. We made a social media listening on autonomous driving between June 2016 and December 2018. And what the outcome of this is that 46% of the people are considering their priority the individualized and effective time management. And 26%, it's the second priority, it's safety, it's trust. Affordability and mobility freedom are must-have. Without that, there's no mobility possible experience. And I think that this is what we have to keep in mind all the time, and especially affordability. Another very important aspect is that our world is changing. We are moving from a complicated world to a complex world. And what are the differences? A complicated world is a world where you have independent actors, where the actions you are deciding have a predictable outcome, where a simple governance is possible, and in fact, it's an efficient organization you need in order to get the results. Typically, a plant is corresponding to the complicated world. The complex world, you have a significant number of actors, and all these actors are interconnected with a high frequency level of communication. You only can deal with this complex world within ecosystems. Take electrification, for example, and what is happening in Europe. You have two dogmatic situations: the politics and the OEMs. Most probably, both are wrong. But they are opposed today, and this is not creating value. Typically, the complex world is the weather forecast. With our technologies, we are able to say what will be the weather tomorrow. But we have no idea of what the weather will be within 1 month. And so, the only way to deal with this complex world is to sit together in an ecosystem, put around the table the different actors who are influencing the outcome, and work on small steps, 2 years maybe, do together the best efforts to see at what speed we can improve the situation and we can influence what's happening. The complex world doesn't mean that we do not have a vision. We have a clear vision, but it's very difficult to predict at which speed we can achieve it. And this is why we need these intermediate steps, the path forward, in order to have a good chance to make it happen. As far as we are concerned, and discussing just before the mega trends, we have two strategic priorities. Sustainable mobility on one hand, which is linked to powertrain electrification and zero-emission solutions. And you see here that our estimated addressable market for 2013 is about 51 billion euros. And we have the cockpit of the future, which is related to autonomous drive and what you will do, what we saw just before, the efficient time, the individualized efficient time management, where the addressable market is estimated at 81 billion euros. I will spend a little bit more time on cockpit of the future during my presentation. What's new for the automotive industry, I think, globally, and for us, for sure, is that we have to be very much consumer-focused. And we have to be consumer-focused all along the life cycle of our products. It starts with ideation and strategy, with social media listening. It goes then to consumer video processing for feature prioritization, to product development, and even when the products are in serial production, we need to continue to assess how the consumers are dealing with them, what are the difficulties with them, and its digital consumer surveying. So we have selected our partners on all these items, and we are now very much involved in having a much better understanding of the pain points and the hassle maps of our customers. And in fact, we start with the consumer trends and research, where again, we try to identify the pain points. Then we go to the customer knowledge, and here we speak about OEMs. What do they expect? What are their strategies? And we have to combine that. Then we look at the new technologies and how can we match the different demands. So the future for us is very clearly consumers plus customers plus technology. And it's the combination of these three which will authorize us to be agile, collaborative, user-centric, and business-driven. And when you look at the cockpit of the future, these are the different customer experiences on which we are working. So you have advanced safety, enhanced comfort and wellness, personalized climate comfort and air quality, immersive sound experience, intuitive HMI solutions, adaptive cabin from a physical point of view, and cloud-based services. And this is also what we are demonstrating on our booth. We have, a few interesting and new demonstrators there, which are completely corresponding to these priorities. So, the ecosystem. What is also very clear is that we are enlarging our integration perimeter. And when you are an integrator, and we have been an integrator from the beginning, you have to know what is the value chain, and you have to understand in which areas you might invest and in which other areas you might partnership because of the established leadership on the market. And I think that this is absolutely key in order to be quick and to be able to propose an experience. When you look back, we proposed to the market products. In the next steps, we made these products smart or smarter. But nevertheless, even when they were smarter, they were modules, and whatever functionalities which were related to these modules, they were in this module. Take a seat, for example. All the adjustments you can do with the seat are in the seat, embedded in the seat. The consumer experience is different. When we will speak about comfort, we will have to combine the different elements, systems, modules in the cockpit together in order to achieve the best possible and individualized proposal. And this is why you need to work with the experts in the different fields. We are quite proud about that. We are working with Mahle for air conditioning systems. We are working with ZF, TRW, for safety systems on our seat structures mainly. We are working with Hella for interior lighting, with Accenture for artificial intelligence, but also we are active with Accenture on the digital transformation. And we are working with Hitachi now on autonomous driving, or better said, we can make a global offer with Hitachi, but our part is the driver assistance and the sophisticated driver assistance. We are working with academics, and that's very important because it's allowing you to accelerate. So we have, our research networks. And of course, we are also working with startups. You see the ones in which we have recently invested. And you also have here on the right-hand side partners, but which are more technology partners on a very specific field, like, for example, Corning on glass, or JDI on displays. We said, I propose, as a priority for our consumers, affordability. So, and as far as we are concerned, for the interior of the car, there's no chance to increase the price or the cost for the OEMs. It is already a challenge to make a car affordable, an electric car affordable, and not to speak about an autonomous car. So, and I think that the triple win we are proposing is exactly that, where we are trying to propose more for the consumer, and better experience, and higher level of performance, which should be less costly for the OEMs, and which should allow us to increase our content per vehicle and have the right margin on this new content per vehicle. And the disruptive technologies are allowing to do this. I give you an example. Today, when you use a display as an instrument cluster, it's cheaper, easier, more value for the consumer than when you used, as before, these electromechanical instrument clusters. It's cheaper for the OEM, and it makes sense for us because it's a field in which we were not. And in the previous configuration, the entry ticket was so big that it was quite impossible. Another example, sound systems. We are working on activating surfaces. It means that we do not use loudspeakers anymore. You save about 60% weight in doing that. You increase significantly the design freedom, because you don't have to care about the packaging. For ride sharing, it's the good solution because it's very easy to clean large surfaces with water. No issue with it. And it's globally cheaper because exciting surfaces is not exactly at the same price when putting a significant number of loudspeakers in it. So it's another example of what is possible. And I think that these disruptions, these new technologies we are seeing popping up, are all allowing us to do this, and we are very much concentrated on that. We do not try to increase the cost because we know that in the context of electrification and autonomous driving, it is just not possible. The other thing which is interesting in doing that, in having this integration possibility, is that you can deal with new customers. I believe that an Uber, or the Ubers of this world, will want at the point of time to have their own interiors. They will want to have interiors, 1, 2, 3, corresponding to the different use cases of their customers. And we will be able to deal with them and propose to them these new solutions. Ride sharing is exactly the same thing. You need new conditions when you share a car, even if it's a new designed car for ride sharing. For example, in terms of intimacy. You have to make sure that people will not touch each other entering or exiting the car. You have to make sure that they will be able to have a phone call which will stay private. So these are new configurations in which we are investing. And this is happening already. And you have on the right-hand side what we are estimating being able to achieve within the next years. And on these technologies, our target is 4.2 billion euros of sales in 2025. And you see that we have already made some interesting acquisitions of new contracts. Our target in order intake for 2019 will be 15% with these new value spaces. We achieved 7% in 2018. So what does it mean? It means for us, through smart hardware to experiences, is to enlarge our offer, increase the content per vehicle by over 50%, open new market segments and work with new customers towards a B2C business model. It will not be, the dominant business model of Faurecia in a predictable future, but I think we have moved already from a B2B business model to an B2C2B, and we certainly will have in the years to come a specific B2C business, which will be a combination of hardware and services. So the takeaways of this short presentation. First, you have to combine, this is our point of view, consumer expectations with customer expectations and with technology possibilities. And this in order to drive user experience, and we have really to think about experiences and no more functionalities. You have to work within a broad ecosystem. It's the only way to be quick enough and to combine all the expertise which are needed in order to propose this consumer experience. You need to have a vision, and a vision is perfectly possible. We know what the megatrends are, but in the same time, in a complex world, this path is very uncertain, and you need to go ahead with smaller steps. These smaller steps are very important. The time to market is extremely important because it's the way you finance your company. The worst thing in the complex world is to have to finance huge amounts of R&D in something you don't know when you will make the return. And this is, we are lucky when we think about our two priorities, we can sell the bricks towards the vision immediately. The triple win strategy, it has to be affordable. The big issue, I believe, for our industry in the future will be the price of these cars. And again, when you think about electrification, and especially in some regions of this world, or if you speak about making the cars autonomous compared to what we know today, the delta cost is such that it will be an issue. From product to experience, for increased content per vehicle, and all of that for technology with a purpose. Thank you very much.